It's a Tuesday, which means it's the weekly update for Arc Raiders. While we've said it time and time again, until October and perhaps the month leading up to it, things are likely going to be pretty quiet update-wise, having a few things here and there, like a new event or a project to work on, and not really much more. But today's update, if we can call it that, I do want to discuss with you a bit because it does dive deeper into a few persisting issues and the plans that Embark has for them. Today we're taking a look at the newest update information about Arc Raiders and what changes you can expect to see and what actions already been taken. Drop your thoughts as we go along, drop a like if you enjoyed the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Arc Raiders and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at Advanced GG, where code Espresso can get you 10% off your entire order, but as always, more on that later. For now, let's get into it. So the update itself was kind of nothing. Like, it was just an update to an existing set that you can end up buying more options for this in terms of the colors, but if you ended up already having this bundle, it was just retroactively applied to you. You have these here available for no extra charge. That dealing with the Drift Coat set here, it offered the black and green as well as the red options here for this. Other than that, again, nothing really beyond this. This was just a shop update, but coming along with the notes here for this, that's the stuff that I think is worth mentioning here. Both in their Discord and the game announcements channel and over on their website for the news, they ended up posting a little bit more under the store update 1.37. First, one of the big things acknowledged here was an issue with departure out of this expedition. They said, "We've been looking into your reports of being automatically signed up for departure after completing the deal damage challenge, which is reaching 100,000 damage across other raiders, other Arc, you name it." But they said this is unintentional and we're working on a fix. So this is an interesting one because, of course, this is going to need to be fixed sooner rather than later. The window for the expedition closes in 1 week's time, and, well, if you're signed up for departure, unless they fix that in time, well, you're going to depart. You're going to have your stuff reset. So while most people that do this damage challenge very well likely will end up taking part in this expedition, I'm sure there's a subset of players that have that project ready to go, but they may not want to do that just yet. They may want to hold off for the next expedition window, and that damage challenge auto-populates in this window as you're playing the game, but if they don't want to do it, they're automatically signed up. So this one needs to be fixed pretty soon, because otherwise you're guaranteed to reset. The other thing that was mentioned out of this was, we've seen your feedback about the Seeker Grenade feeling weaker after last week's update, and we've been investigating the issue. We noticed an unintended effect from a collision change on projectiles, and the team is working on a fix. We'll let you know as soon as it's ready. So this and the auto departure thing is stuff that they're working on and they're going to have a fix inbound for, but at the moment, we don't have fixes for those just yet. A level of communication of just like, hey, we hear you, we got some stuff upcoming that you should be aware of, but just know we see it as well. Now, as for the timing, that one is, of course, up in the air. The auto departure thing definitely needs to be sooner rather than later, but the Seeker Grenade fix could be something that is tethered with that auto departure fix when we get something here in the next couple of days. But if it's not, it's quite possible that could be something that doesn't make it until the next live update, consisting of more meaningful changes outside of shop updates. Like today's update was not a live update, it was a shop update. Next week's is currently scheduled to be that as well. The next live update is currently slated for the 27th, pending no changes. We saw this recently where they announced they'd switched to a 3-week cycle of worthwhile content updates through live updates. The worthwhile part, of course, may still be debatable, given what you consider worthwhile, but a live update, for example, was the most recent event that we ended up seeing introduced. That being a content update that happened on the 16th of last month of June, but 3 weeks after that, we ended up seeing that on the 7th of July, we had another live update, which was smaller in scale and not necessarily something as forward-focused content-wise. Like we ended up seeing, of course, Trial Season 5, the new expedition window open up, but we had things like the solo, duo, and trio matchmaking, that update there, which is a live update. We had a new crossover introduced for the final Season 11 and Arc Raiders, along with a number of different bug and content fixes. So like patch note-worthy stuff is coming around every 3 weeks at this point. So if you're looking for a beacon of a more, I guess, air quote, grand update of some kind, even though probably still smaller by comparison to what you may expect when it comes to like October and the next major update, the 27th is the next likely candidate here at this, which coincidentally is also when the most recent event that we had introduced, when that concludes. So that rollover into our next update is coinciding with that as well. But that said, that's some more minor stuff here that is, of course, game impacting, but not as big as the other stuff mentioned. The biggest portion of this was mention of the duplication glitch and the enforcement of that. Of course, if you have played Arc Raiders as of the last couple of months here, you've probably seen an uptick in duplicated items, whether it be in PvP where people are running around with Bobcat 4s, kinetic converters, and all that kind of stuff that makes it just an absolute pain to run up against, or if it's just somebody that you see duping rare and legendary ducks to end up getting more cash, to increase that coin value, to something that seems a little less harmful to the first glance to something that completely breaks the meta of the game. Duping has been something that's been problematic the last couple of months here. To wit, Embark ended up saying, following last week's fix for the duplication glitch, we've been banning accounts that gained a significant advantage from exploiting it. That effort continues this week, similarly to how we handled it in February, with things like warnings for low severity cases where abuse was limited, removal of coins and items tied to exploit activity, suspensions for the severe cases, particularly where exploit usage had a significant impact on the in-game economy or other players' experience. Players who deliberately exploited that glitch but didn't gain a major advantage will not be suspended, and if you simply received a few items from someone who was duping without knowingly exploiting that glitch yourself, you may receive a warning. Our goal is to only take action against those who significantly and deliberately abuse the exploit, not to catch players who were incidentally affected. So, action has been taken here for this duplication, and I think that two things can both be true simultaneously here with this. I think number one, you can feel like it's nice to have this communication. It's nice to see action finally taken. However, on the flip side, I also think it's valid to feel maybe a little frustrated that for many, this might not be enough. Just blanket suspensions across the board for most of the cases. They did mention they've been banning, but not specifying if that's temporary like the mentioned suspensions or if they're permanent. Personally, looking around Reddit and other socials here, I haven't seen really any mention of anybody being permabanned, just warnings and a suspension here and there. Trying to understand the logic and reasoning, I can entirely understand the perspective of not wanting to affect bystanders. Like, probably an outlier case, someone found a dead raider bag filled to the brim with duped ducks and took some. Realistically, can you prove that they knew or engaged in a dupe themselves? No. Sure, there's probably the suspicion of, that's a lot of ducks, and the naivety to say, oh, that's all surely legit, but that one-off didn't partake in the glitch. A warning in that case, sure, is valid. But a blanket suspension for anyone partaking, though, is interesting because I do for sure think there's levels to this. Without trying to stoke the flames of anyone getting angry at me or anything like that about defending a glitcher, I promise I'm not, but there's certainly levels of severity to this that shouldn't just result in blanket suspensions. Like lower offenses, people who duped for coins, seems like a lot of those had their entire balances removed, not just what they duped, which is good. Cool with me. They knew the risks of exploiting it. That's the outcome of their actions. Mid-tier offenses, people who say did the duplication glitch for kid bobcats, aimed solely at ruining other people's gameplay experience, yeah, sure, that deserves a suspension. But worst, there was like an actual literal microeconomy booming from this. People were selling loot for real-life currency on forums, eBay, places like that, directly profiting from these exploits, doing it solely so they could churn out some real cash. So like, a blanket suspension to come back in 1 to 2 weeks doesn't really seem valid for all three of those tiers, right? Like some of those gotta be ban-worthy, no? Like, no, it's not installing hacks or cheats or anything like that, but surely some of that is incredibly lenient on some of those use cases. I don't know. I feel like I certainly do not envy being the ones to make those enforcement decisions because it's always that seesaw of it's not enough, it's too much, depending on who you ask. But that's where I turn it over to you. What do you think of this decision here in relation to the suspensions and the resets on some of the value for coins and everything like that? Do you think they should have wiped inventories? Do you think they should have done bans? Let me know. But that's where we're going to wrap it up. Before we do, a quick heads up, we have partnered with my friends over at Advanced GG. Again, as we've mentioned, a bit under the radar the last few months, but now going into the summer, ramping that up more and more. Advanced is the healthier energy supplement option where I use it daily as my comparable cup of coffee. Currently drinking that raspberry lemonade. Magic Rainbow Sherbet's also another one that's one of my favorites, but I'd highly recommend, and we actually co-branded that along with a few other items on their site, like a 26-ounce ice shaker. But love this stuff. If you're looking for a replacement for your own cup of coffee, give it a try. If you decide to give it a go, code espresso and get 10% off your entire order. But no sweat, appreciate you hearing me out on this. And of course, just checking in on the videos here that you made it this far. But now that's what we're going to call it. Again, let me know your thoughts down below. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful. And do me a favor, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Arc Raiders and even more FPS content. I'd love to have in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.